Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel, The Medieval Reader. So today you're not going to look at my face, instead you're going to look at my books. I have received some comments asking how I annotate my books. So I looked around my apartment for books that were in English that I'd annotated, and unfortunately the only book in English that I've annotated is The Odyssey, translated by Robert Fagles. This is an incredible translation, by the way. Oh, you can see some sum-sums. So these sum-sums, that's what they're called, sum-sums. I received them from the child of a friend, so you can admire them as I talk about books. Okay, so I will talk a little bit about this, and then I also want to show a book that is very annotated. However, this is in French. So this is The Nausea by Jean-Paul Sartre, who was a 20th century author, philosopher. He wore many hats, and this edition is in French because I'm a French student, but I have many annotations in here. Even though you won't be able to read them, I will try to read you a few, but I just want to show you the format of my annotations. Okay, so let's begin with The Odyssey. So I wrote a very short 20-minute presentation based on The Odyssey. And as you can tell, this is how I annotate. I first underline. So go home and babble your omens to your children, save them from some catastrophe coming soon. Telemachus is still a boy, Odysseus is probably dead, and omens are nonsense. So as you can see, this is in book 2, Telemachus sets sail. Eurymachus, who is Polybus' son, insults this seer, telling him to put aside omens as childish nonsense. And I paraphrased what he was saying in the margins. The reason why I underline and paraphrase is because when I'm just flipping through the book, which, by the way, is very hard to do with this edition because it has deckled edges. I hate deckled edges. You cannot flip through books with deckled edges very easily. And now I've just lost my place. But the reason why I underline and annotate is because if you just underline, then when you're flipping through the book, you don't remember why you underlined. But if you underline and write in the margins, usually just paraphrasing in a few words why you underlined what you did, then when you're flipping through the book, you are reminded as to why this passage is important. Let's go to this French book because I think this actually shows the best examples. When I'm writing a term paper, I do tab. So here are my tabs, these blue and green tabs. Those are tabbing major scenes that I want to write about in my term papers. So here is a line. You don't need to know what it says, but I underlined it, and then I annotated. Un roman versus une histoire. A novel versus a history. So a novel here being fiction, a history being fact. And this sentence that I underlined shows how writing a history is always fiction. And I wrote that if he's going to tell a story about Rollemont, it will be a novel. Rollemont is a revolutionary figure that our protagonist is writing a history about. The protagonist is also the narrator. Okay, so you see how I did that? I underline and I write in the margins. Sometimes I do this. So I will bracket off the passage, so I don't want to underline everything. I just bracket it off. And then I write in the margins. Let's see if I can find. So you see this arrow? This arrow makes it easier for my eye to notice the passages I've underlined. So I draw an arrow, and then when I'm flipping through the book, see, I noticed I had written in the margin, the eye. That's what l'œil means, the eye. See? I saw that arrow, so I'm like, okay, what is this arrow? Well, it goes with the eye. L'œil, again, in the margin means the eye. This passage deals with the eye. Again, mais je ne vois plus rien, but I don't see anything anymore. So I'm like, okay, so these are passages that deal with vision. Well, that's important. So 3 things. I underline, I write in the margins, and I tab. Major scenes. Tabbing becomes more important if I have a book with deckled edges. I removed all the tabs on the Odyssey, but I had so many when I was writing my presentation. Sometimes I will circle keywords. La peur. Fear. Okay, fear. What did I write here in the margins? Assault. He analyzes the reactions of the girl like a scientist. Okay, so so I circle keywords, but a lot of times when people start out annotating, they will highlight a lot. You've got to see, I used to have an older edition of the Odyssey, same version, and I highlighted nearly every line. It made the book look absolutely just disgusting and trashy. And it was unusable. What was the point of highlighting every single verse? Like, I couldn't find my place. There was no purpose. Underlining is only half of what you should be doing. You should underline and annotate to remind yourself why what you underlined is important. So that is what I recommend. You don't need to underline in pen. You don't need to underline in a Sharpie. Actually, a Sharpie would be a bad idea. You don't need to highlight with pretty colors. You don't need to have this color coding system. Something as simple as underlining and writing in the margins is helpful. I know some people like to write in a separate notebook. I don't find that helpful because it's just harder. I will transfer major quotes to a separate notebook when it comes time to writing the paper. But while I'm reading, I always read with a pencil so that I can underline major passages and annotate those passages when I come across them. Because I will forget. I will forget that, here was this amazing passage that I need to get back to in the future. Oh yeah, this was funny. So basically what's going on here is our narrator, Antoine Roquentin, is in this museum and he sees this painting of a historical figure in the town that he is working in, and the portrait of this man makes him feel very uncomfortable. And after a while he realizes why he finds this portrait so bothersome. The artist drew this man to appear as if he's a taller person than he was in real life. He draws the man in the portrait to the same height as the men in all the other portraits, but the objects surrounding this man are a lot larger than in the surrounding portraits. So it's basically deceives people into thinking that the man was taller than he really was. But if you look at the size of the objects in proportion to him, you realize that actually he was just a short person. So anyway, that's why I wrote ha, because it's this revelation that this portrait is deceptive. And this ties into a larger theme about art and representation in this novel. So there you go. I hope that helped you. For all of you guys who've been wondering how I annotate, those are just some tips. And let me know how you annotate. I'm always interested in trying new things. And I will talk to you later. Bye now.